I genuinely think the Miami Dolphins are one of the hardest teams to rebuild in Madden 24, but not the usual way that teams are hard to rebuild. Because you obviously have some incredibly talented players on this team. Tyreek Hill is a 99 overall, Jalen Ramsey's a 97, Teron Armstead's a 91, Jalen Waddle's an 89, Wilkinson's an 86, Javon Holland's an 84, and then you have an 83 overall in Tua, and his contract is coming up in a couple years. But that brings me to why this is one of the hardest teams to rebuild in this year's game, because if you look at some of these future cap hits, like this season, Emmanuel Ogbah's a 79 overall at 29 years old. Not going to get a lot better, but he's a $17 million cap hit for the next 2 seasons, and then almost a $19 million cap hit. In 2024, Tyreek Hill becomes a $31 million hit, and then a $34 million hit. And yes, you can now restructure in these games, but it's just going to add on to the later years. And then in 2026, Tyreek Hill is a $56 million cap hit. I really wish the restructuring was more just throwing money farther down the line and actually extending the guy so you could spread out the cap hit, but that's not the way they did it. So I really feel like in this rebuild, I'm going to have to make some really tough decisions, and some decisions that I don't think a lot of Dolphins fans are really going to like. However, here in the first season, I'm just going to roll with the roster that they have. Obviously, I've made a Kane. I really hope I said his name right. I probably didn't, but he will be the number 1 back, so we can hopefully develop him a little bit. The offensive line is going to need some work in the offseason, though. I honestly like most of the defense. The only big problem I have on defense is Emmanuel Ogbah's not even starting and making that much money, which is just absolutely insane. And Bradley Chubb also has a pretty big contract for a 79 overall player. I wasn't too thrilled with this year's draft class, but honestly, I don't know really what I'm going to be targeting in the draft too much besides offensive linemen, and that was one of the key strengths. The problem is it seems to only be at tackle, because you can see here in the national region, the weaknesses on this class are left guard, center, and right guard. So you can get a right tackle or a left tackle in this class, and you will see that as I go through the scouts here. I like using a tier 3 scout in the national spot. The offensive tackle one was really the only one that I liked, and it came with a running back, so we'll look to see if there is a superstar back, but I'm not really looking to draft a running back right out the gate. And then we have a tier 2 in the west spot with offensive tackle and defensive end, another offensive tackle and defensive tackle in the central spot. The northeast, I really did not like any of the options here, so yes, I am scouting 2 of the weakest positions in this region, and that's probably a horrible idea, but I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll see how it goes. Then in the southeast region, I have outside linebacker and offensive tackle. The playbooks don't really seem to matter as much this year in Madden, which is obviously a very good thing, so I will be starting out by just using the regular Dolphins playbook and their schemes. At the mid-season point, if this is a Super Bowl or bust team, it's definitely going to end in a bust. We are right now 1-6. Well, at the end of the season here, it was not a great year for Tua. He threw for a little more than 3,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions. On the ground, Kane ran for 800 yards and 9 touchdowns, so he had a pretty solid rookie season. Receiving, Tyreek Hill got 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns, Jalen Waddle caught 4, and Cedric Wilson caught 2. Eric Saubert, our tight end, caught 2. I don't know if I said his name right, probably didn't. And Raheem Mostert caught 1. Over on defense, who led the team in tackles? That would be Jerome Baker, our middle linebacker, with 152. Sacks goes to Christian Wilkins, who only ended up with 4.5 this year. And interceptions, Javon Holland got 4. As usual in simulation in Madden 24, Dak Prescott absolutely dominated with 4,900 yards, almost 5,000. Also led the league in passing touchdowns, and interceptions goes to Desmond Ridder, who threw 21. Running the ball, Christian McCaffrey for 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns, both of those good enough to lead the league. Receiving, Cooper Kupp put up 1,500 yards to lead the league. Most receptions goes to CeeDee Lamb with 111, and touchdowns goes to Travis Kelce, who caught 19 this season. And then on defense, leading the league in tackles would be Jerome Baker. The most sacks goes to Von Miller with 17, and interceptions goes to L'Jarius Sneed, who caught 6. And if you expected us to turn it around from the midway point, we did not. We finished the year 3-14, the number 31 offense in points per game and the number 28 defense in points per game. Very clearly not a good year for Miami. I've now seen this a lot in Madden 24. The first Super Bowl we will see in this rebuild is Buffalo against Dallas. And the Bills get their very first Super Bowl, 24-21. The NFL MVP goes to Lamar Jackson. Coach of the Year is Doug Peterson. Offensive Player of the Year is Christian McCaffrey. Defensive Player of the Year is Josh Allen. Offensive Rookie of the Year will be Bijan Robinson. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is Joey Porter Jr. This will be where the rebuild actually begins. In the re-signing period, we have 24 players ready to negotiate, but we have negative $9.73 million in cap space. The biggest saving we can make is Tua, who would save $23 million in cap space, but I think they took away the ability to trade anybody. Not that I'm going to trade Tua here, but yeah, you can't trade anybody in this stage. You can only release them. You can't trade until free agency. I don't think there's anyone I can really restructure here and actually make the team better in the future, because a guy like Tyreek Hill, that's going to add $6 million to the final 2 years of his contract, which would make 2026 a $62 million cap hit, and that's not really what I'm trying to accomplish here. We are going to come in here and accept Jalen Waddle's 5th-year option. I know I want to keep him for at least another season, so that's an easy decision. We will also take the 5th-year option on outside linebacker Jalen Phillips. He doesn't have much re-sign interest, so this will probably be his final year in Miami. But now with the negative cap space, I'm going to have to let everyone else walk. We might try to bring a few of them back in for agency, but I've got to clear some cap space first by trading a few players. Now that I'm actually in the stage for free agency, it shows that we have $17.3 million in cap. I'm going to either assume that those contracts were still counting against the cap, or the most likely outcome was that we had some dead cap that is finally gone. We do actually have a decision to make here with Tua. He's right now a 79 overall, -5 morale. I'm assuming that's because we just went 3-14, but he is coming off a horrible season, 14 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. I just wanted to see what kind of offers I could get for Tua here, and I honestly like some of these offers, but I don't think any of them are realistic. So we're going to give Tua 1 more year to try to rebound, and if not, we will draft a quarterback in the following draft. Now, the player I know I'm getting rid of is defensive end Emmanuel Ogbah, 79 overall, 30 years old. It would save about $11.8 million in cap, so we're going to see if we can find a trade partner for him, and I will honestly take anything they are willing to give me. The only offer we get for him is for defensive tackle Zach Pickens from Chicago. Maybe I won't take anything they're willing to give me, but they are willing to give me a 4th round pick, so that's exactly what we're going to do. The problem I'm having with trading is that Madden has this issue where other teams don't have to really obey the salary cap at all. Chicago has some space, but Cincinnati is in the negative, Buffalo's in the negative, and you're just going to see a ton of teams here. Tampa Bay is negative $19 million. The Chargers are negative 16. I really wish there was something they could do to fix this. The Cowboys are negative $24.5 million in cap right now, and they'll just stay like that. They don't actually try to fix it or have to fix it at all, because for whatever reason in EA's logic, they don't have to. Because they're only one of like 3 teams with cap space, I have traded Cedric Wilson and a 5th round pick to the Patriots in exchange for their 3rd round pick. So yes, an interdivisional trade, but it's okay. The main needs now going into free agency are going to be most of the offensive line. Teron Armstead's down to an 88 overall due to -3 morale. The rest of the O-line is absolutely garbage, and we might need a new tight end. A 70 overall might be okay, but I'll look for a better option. And then over on defense, the main thing we need is defensive line. Well, I've now burned through most of the cap space that I made. We only have 2.3 left. So I've offered a contract to Michael Pierce, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Trey Flowers. So bringing back 2 of our offensive linemen if we can get them, and hopefully we can here. And they are all gone. We landed Pierce, Hunt, and Trey Flowers, but we don't land our center, so we need a new one. Since we lost out on Connor Williams, I'm going to go after Matt Paradis or Paradise. I'm going to assume it's Paradis. I could be completely wrong. And then wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling on just a 1-year contract. Let's see if either one of these guys want to take those offers. He has not, but do we land our center? Yes, we do. All right, 1 more stage for Valdez-Scantling. Are you going to take this offer? He is gone because he is now a member of the Dolphins. Well, we're now at the NFL draft, and we have the 3rd pick here, and I want to show you guys the best player available, and I'm not going to trade up to get him. He is a left tackle, and he looks absolutely dominant. Ralph Dunn here has A, awareness, impact block, pass block, and run block. So I imagine that's who's going number 1. I would love to take Kevin Plummer, but I don't know if he's going to fall this far, and we'll have to see where we go from there. So let's go ahead and see. Advance to the next pick, and with the number 1 draft pick, the LA Rams are going to take quarterback Colin McCann out of Oklahoma. So we will be landing one of those tackles. It's just going to depend on who the Cardinals take with the 2nd pick in the draft. They are going to select, hopefully, all right, so they take Ralph Dunn. That's the one I really wanted, but I knew I wasn't going to get him. We're just going to make the easy decision here with the 3rd pick in the draft and take right tackle Kevin Plummer out of Miami. so he doesn't even have to move that far. He has A awareness, A impact block, A pass block, B run block, and he has elite level strength. Welcome to the Miami Dolphins, Kevin Plummer, and he is obviously a hidden dev trait. Now in the second round, I'm going to take defensive end Brian Cherry out of Oregon. He comes in with B block shedding, B power move, and A tackle. His physical traits are pretty solid, I guess, but that's what most of us actually say here. But he also comes in with B awareness and A play rec, so we're going to go ahead and take Brian Cherry here with our second round pick, and he will come in as a normal dev trait, which really sucks, honestly. We do have two picks here in the third round, and with the first one, I'm going to take center Hugh Jones out of Texas Tech. A awareness, A impact blocking, B pass block. His strength is pretty good, so we're going to go and take him, and hopefully he can be our new center, and he will also be a hidden dev trait. With our other third round pick, I'm going to trade it to San Francisco and get their second round pick for next year and their seventh round pick for next year. If you have never seen any of my rebuilds before, the way I do the draft in these is I only pick in the first 3 rounds and then I let the computer take over from there. To me, I'm not very good at drafting in the late rounds. I would rather just the computer do it than add more time to the video of me drafting in the late rounds and being horrible at it. I would say we landed pretty well with our third overall pick though, because Kevin Plummer is a 78 overall. The other picks are a 73 overall defensive end in Brian Cherry and a 72 overall center in Hugh Jones. When the computer took over, they took a 67 overall defensive end, a 65 overall defensive tackle, and a 70 overall receiver with 98 speed in Colin Mahan. He only has a normal dev trait, but the computer definitely found, I feel like, a hidden gem in this draft class. And as good as Kevin Plummer is, the best player in the draft was Ralph Dunn, the left tackle that went number 2 overall. Obviously, had he fallen to us at 3, I would have taken him, but I was fine getting Plummer, especially after the Rams went quarterback with the first pick, and he is only a 74 overall. Let's see if he is a hidden dev trait at least, and he is, so the Rams may have a franchise quarterback. As most of you already probably know, Madden 24 brought back training camp, and I learned on Twitter that apparently, or X, whatever you want to call it now, that you can earn a dev trait upgrade if you can get a gold badge in some of these, and it's a random chance. So we're gonna run this with a cane and see if we can get it. Alright, I should have it here now. With 2.5 seconds to go, I think I just need to get a few yards, bounce it to the outside, and we'll get one more touchdown just to add on, and there is the gold badge. So let's see, doing all of that, did I get a dev trait upgrade for him? And if worst case scenario, we at least get a skill point, and we only get a skill point here, but I will take that, I guess. This will be your offense for Season 2. Really, the only change that I'm going to note here is that I moved Jones from center over to guard. Well, not officially, but he's going to play guard this season because we really probably need him there because the backup is a 68 overall. Probably not a good idea. I also signed Austin Hooper in free agency, during the preseason, just to get us a new tight end. The defense probably is not going to be very good this year because we do have Johnson here at strong safety as a 67 overall and really don't have the cap space to go bring anyone else in. This recruiting class did seem a little bit better to me. The strongest position is actually defensive back, and if we go by the region breakdown, I am going to be scouting quarterbacks this year. Even if we don't move on from Tua, I just don't want to be caught completely unscouted at the quarterback position. So that is why the national scout will be scouting quarterbacks. We then have a wide receiver and quarterback scout, an outside linebacker and offensive tackle and interior offensive lineman, which is still a weak position apparently. And then in the Southeast, we have a quarterback and safety. So we should know most, if not every single quarterback in the class if I want to move on from Tua. Now, I will say that the weaknesses in this class is a little bit insane because the overall weaknesses is still left guard, right guard, and center. Well, at the midway point for this year, we are a little bit better than we were last year. Last year, we were 1-6 at this point. This year, we are 3-4. We have the number 24 offense in points per game and the number 12 defense in points per game. Well, Tua definitely had a much better year. Almost 3,400 yards, 32 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, so maybe we keep him around. Running back Devon Achane ran for 840 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then receiving, Tyreek Hill did not hit 1,000 yards, only caught 3 touchdowns. Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught 8, Jalen Waddle caught 8, Austin Hooper caught 5, and then what about defense? Who led the team in tackles? That would be Jerome Baker again, and in sacks, Jalen Phillips got 11.5, a much better season than last year, and interceptions, Xavier Howard came away with 3. Patrick Mahomes led the league in passing yards with 4,300, and touchdowns, that also goes to Mahomes with only 36. I do like to see these like updated simulation numbers a little bit. Interceptions, Anthony Richardson threw 21, and then Sean Durant, a rookie. I wanted to see who this was because he threw for over 4,000 yards, but also 21 interceptions. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs got 1,700 yards, and touchdowns goes to Joe Mixon. Receiving, CeeDee Lamb got 1,300 yards, Jamar Chase 105 receptions, and touchdowns goes to Cooper Kupp with 15. On defense, Demario Davis got 157 tackles, sacks goes to DeForest Buckner with 12.5, and interceptions goes to Byron Murphy Jr. with 7, and Stephon Gilmore with 7. And we end up winning the division at 11-6 because the rest of the division was pretty bad. We finished as the 14th offense in points per game and the number 3 defense in points per game. However, we get completely blanked in the first round of the playoffs, 24-0 in the wild card round, and Tua did not play well. 19 for 32, 200 yards and 2 interceptions. Herbert didn't even play that good, but did manage to throw 2 touchdowns and obviously got the win. This season, we have a Super Bird Bowl between the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the 7th seed, and the Baltimore Ravens. Well, as an Eagles fan, that would absolutely suck to watch the Eagles lose 17-0, so Lamar Jackson has now won a Super Bowl and gets another NFL MVP award. Coach of the Year goes to Mike McCarthy, Offensive Player of the Year is Lamar Jackson, Defensive Player of the Year is DeForest Buckner, Offensive Rookie of the Year is the quarterback that the Rams took with the number 1 pick, and Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to a defensive end for Jacksonville. Now going into re-signing, we have 17 players ready to negotiate, and we only have $52 million in cap, so we'll have to make our decision on our quarterback. I honestly think we're going to have to make a pretty big decision here because we could re-sign Tua, but Javon Holland is also here. He's going to want big money. Jerome Baker, Kader Kohou, we're going to rebuild a lot of this team if we bring back Tua, but I honestly believe it might be the best decision here and just try to rebuild through the draft. It may not be the most popular decision, but we are going to offer Tua this 4-year contract, and he would like to play for a new team next year, so I tried to bring him back. He did not want to come back. But that does mean I can offer a contract to someone like Javon Holland, an 88 overall. Is he going to come back? Yes, he is. We are also going to try to bring back middle linebacker Jerome Baker. He has a lot of interest in coming back, and he will be returning. I honestly don't even know if I'm saying this guy's name right, but Kader Kohou, an 80 overall corner, has a bit of interest in coming back, so we'll offer this to him, and he will also be returning. And we will be letting everyone else walk here. Tua, I really cannot believe, turned down that offer, but he's going to hit free agency. We'll see if we can bring him back or another quarterback, or see if there's someone in the draft, because like I said, I did scout every quarterback in the draft pretty much. Before we get too far into free agency, I wanted to come look at the quarterbacks, and it does look like Brendan Bundy at the top of the class here is a top 5 talent. We have a couple round 1 talents. Let's see if we can scroll down and see anyone else. Apparently we did not complete everybody here yet. Maybe by the draft we'll have everyone done, but I think we may want Brendan Bundy. The problem is he is probably going to go number 1 overall. Well, we have now made one hell of a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had to move up from pick 24 all the way to 1, so we have sent them 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks in exchange for just the first overall pick. I probably could have got a lot more for Jalen Ramsey, but they had to take on a big contract, so I have now traded Jalen Ramsey for another first-round pick in this year's draft and a third-round pick. I know trading Jalen Ramsey does not seem like a smart idea right now. He's still a 94 overall, still a very good corner, but we needed the cap space to try to get some other help around this team. Here are the 5 contracts that I've now offered in free agency, and once again I had to use pretty much all of the available cap space, but we have BJ Hill, Dietrich Wise, CJ Mosley, Kendrick Green, and Rayshawn Jenkins there at safety. But let's see if any of them want to sign after the first stage here, and they're all gone because we landed all 5 of them, and that's pretty much all we can afford. We are now at the NFL draft, where apparently 3 of us in this division are going to pick in the top 4. Obviously, we traded up to do it, but we know exactly who we're going to be taking. The final quarterback, Greg Stewart, did not actually end up getting fully scouted, but that deep accuracy is a C, the throw under pressure is a C, so I'm pretty sure quarterback Brendan Bundy is going to be the selection. But let's go ahead and double check some stuff. A deep accuracy, A short accuracy, A throw under pressure. What are his physical traits? Great acceleration, great agility, elite change of direction, good jumping, doesn't really matter, good speed, solid strength, and great throw power. So that's really what we were looking for, and the A awareness. So with the number 1 pick, the Miami Dolphins are going to select Brendan Bundy out of Ole Miss, and please come in with a hidden depth trait. He will. With 84 speed, 92 throw power, I think we have just found our new franchise quarterback. I came to look at the depth chart here with the 14th pick to make sure I was making the right decision by trading back or anything, and I noticed we no longer have Teron Armstead, so I'm pretty sure he just retired, which means we no longer have a left tackle. And sure enough, Teron Armstead has retired along with Raheem Mostert and Matt Paradis, but we definitely need a new left tackle. Probably going to end up reaching just a little bit with this one, but we're going to take left tackle Michael Peters out of Penn State, just because I don't like any of the trade back options, but please come in with a hidden depth trade, and he will. So now we have our new franchise left tackle, hopefully. Because I traded away most of our future here, what I'm going to do in the second round is trade this pick to San Francisco and pick up a second round pick in the next draft. In the third round, we're going to take right guard Steve Watkins out of Notre Dame. He has B awareness, A impact block, and B pass block. Also one of the strongest guards in the class, so we're going to go ahead and take him, and he will come in with a normal depth trait, which is not great. Well, I searched around the third round for a while and really did not find anyone that I was absolutely in love with, but we're going to take wide receiver Aaron Dickerson out of Michigan. He has C catching but B deep route and B release, along with pretty good speed, so we're going to go ahead and take him. He's also 6'5". He comes in with a normal depth trait. Our new franchise quarterback Brendan Bundy comes in as a 76 overall. Let's see all of these ratings. 92 throw power, 83 deep accuracy. That medium accuracy isn't great, but it does have 86 short accuracy, 76 awareness, and 90 throw on the run. And he does have the player tag of a franchise quarterback and day 1 starter. That's good because you will be our starter. Now for the rest of the picks, we took a 73 overall left tackle in Michael Peters, a 74 overall guard, a 74 overall receiver, and then the computer took over and took a 64 overall tight end, a 63 running back, a 68 defensive end, a 65 guard, a 66 middle linebacker, a 68 running back, and a 69 receiver with 97 speed. For whatever reason, the computer just likes drafting speedy receivers in the late rounds. Apparently, the best player in the draft was Antonio Boone, a defensive end that the Patriots took. He comes in as an 82 overall. We now get ready for season 3 of this rebuild, now with rookie quarterback Brendan Bundy. So he's got 3 seasons to win us a Super Bowl, otherwise the rebuild is considered a failure. But one thing I want to point out is Dickerson here, the receiver that we drafted. I'm pretty sure he had a normal depth trait. I could be wrong, but he is already up to a star depth trait. Over on defense, I'm pretty sure the computer cut the other middle linebacker that I signed because I know I brought one in. Apparently they want to see Channing Tindall take that spot, so we'll let it ride at a 69 overall. But one thing I do want to point out here is that Cherry is now a star depth trait. This draft class probably isn't going to end up mattering too much considering I traded away most of our picks in order to move up to get our quarterback, but I will show you the scouts that I hired: a defensive back and middle linebacker, corner and wide receiver, outside linebacker and middle linebacker, defensive end and outside linebacker, and defensive end and defensive tackle. Midway through this year, we are 2-5, so I'm not really expecting us to compete for the division this season, so let me see if I can make a roster move that should help us in the long run, but it's definitely not going to be a popular one if I can pull it off. Because if you notice, I don't remember if I restructured Tyreek Hill or if the computer decided to do it, but he now has a $62.5 million cap hit for next season, and this is the last year of Jalen Waddle's contract, so we're going to need to pay him. So if I can, we're going to look to trade away Tyreek Hill. I don't think I'm going to take this one, but the Rams are offering a very interesting selection here. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, a first round and a third round pick in a couple years, and a fifth round pick in the upcoming draft. We have now officially sent Tyreek Hill and a 4th round pick to Arizona in exchange for a 1st, 2nd, and a 3rd round pick in this draft. I came to take a look at the depth chart, and quarterback Brendan Bundy is actually a superstar X-Factor depth trait, so he should be a pretty good quarterback. But this will be the new look offense, so without Tyreek Hill, we'll see how this season finishes. Well, Brendan Bundy did not have a terrific year, but I don't think he had a bad year either. Skylar Thompson came in at one point and actually played pretty well, apparently. 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. But Bundy finishes his rookie year with 14 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. On the ground, Kane ran for 800 yards and 9 scores. And then receiving Jalen Waddle, 80 catches, 1,000 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dickerson caught a touchdown, Hayden Hurst got a touchdown, and Valdez-Scantling came away with a touchdown. Over on defense, Jerome Baker once again leading the team in tackles, sacks goes to Jalen Phillips, and interceptions goes to Xavier Howard, who caught 3. And that was a nice one-season break, but now Dak Prescott is back at the top of the passing leaders, and the most touchdowns also goes to Dak Prescott with 40. Most interceptions goes to Trey Lance, who was in Detroit now and threw 19 picks. Kyler Murray also threw 19 interceptions. Kenneth Walker leads the league in rushing yards with 1,700. Touchdowns goes to Nick Chubb, now in Carolina, with 19. And then receiving, CeeDee Lamb with the most yards, 1,500. Jordan Addison with 122 catches, only 1 touchdown though. What kind of sim stats is this? 122 receptions, 1,200 yards, but 1 touchdown on the entire season. CeeDee Lamb leads the league with 15. And over on defense, Caden Ellis with 146 tackles, most sacks goes to TJ Watt with 13, and interceptions goes to Adrian Amos in Philadelphia, who caught 7. We finished this season 9-8 and missed the playoffs. The Patriots win the division at 10-7. We have the 29th offense in points per game and the 5th defense, so we just need to get some more help around our quarterback, I feel like. The Super Bowl for this season is between the Titans and the Seahawks. And Will Levis has led the Titans to a Super Bowl, 35-28. The NFL MVP goes to Jalen Hurts. Coach of the Year goes to Frank Reich. Offensive Player of the Year is CeeDee Lamb. Defensive Player of the Year is Micah Parsons. Offensive Rookie of the Year is a quarterback for the Vikings. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is a defensive tackle for the 49ers. Now we get into this year's re-signing period, and as you can see, we have a lot more cap space, 119 million and 19 players ready to negotiate. The first thing we're going to take care of is wide receiver Jalen Waddle, a 4-year offer, and please come back. Yes, he will. The next contract up will be right guard Robert Hunt. We're going to offer him a 1-year deal, and he would like to play for a new team. The next one up is outside linebacker Jalen Phillips. He is a scheme fit, 88 overall, superstar depth trait, but has very, very low interest because he's apparently not close to home. And apparently his home is California, so yeah, you're about as far as you can get here. But we're going to offer a player-friendly deal, and let's see, this is exactly the offer I want. Alright, so cool, we get Jalen Phillips back. Before going into free agency, let's take a look at the team here. Obviously, we're set at quarterback and running back. We might need a wide receiver 3, maybe a 2. Dickerson could be a pretty solid wide receiver 3. And then obviously we're going to need a left guard here because he's a 66 overall. Over on defense, what are we looking like? We need some help along the D-line maybe. We'll look at defensive tackle, but Hill should be fine there for now. We definitely need to add a middle linebacker. I tried that last year. Don't know why the computer cut it. And then at defensive back, Xavier Howard's down to a 79 overall. All right, so we're going to need to look there especially. We're going to end up going after Charvarius Ward, Robert Hunt, Grady Jarrett, Von Bell, and Cole Holcomb. So let's see if we can land any of these guys. Really, the one I want is Ward. He's the top available corner, but the Falcons were really going hard for him, but we land him anyway, and we actually land all 5. We have now thrown a contract at Rachaad White to come in and be a backup running back to Akane, and then Dylan Parham as our left guard. Let's see if either one of these guys are going to sign here in the second stage. They are both gone because we landed Parham, but we did not land Rachaad White. Actually, yeah, we did. I scrolled right past him. The only other 2 people that I have now brought in are going to be Dietrich Wise, who was on our team last season, and then I've also signed tight end Daniel Bellinger. Before we go into the draft, I want to show you guys the picks that we actually have. The Cardinals ended up giving us the number 7 pick in the draft for Tyreek Hill, so I'm perfectly fine with that trade. I am not even going to try to pronounce this guy's name, but with the 7th overall pick, we're going to take this defensive back out of Iowa. A catching, A man coverage, A press. He has pretty good speed. Let's see what his other ratings are. He has B awareness, C play rec, but I like all of those A's on the bottom of the screen there. We're going to go ahead and take him with the 7th overall pick, and he comes in as a normal depth trait. That really honestly surprises me. I honestly think this guy might be a bit of a risk because of the D finesse move and C power move, but he has A block shedding and A tackle. He also comes in with B awareness and A play rec. So we're going to go ahead and take Bart Dane here out of Tennessee in the 2nd round, and he will come in with a hidden depth trait. We have another pick here in the 2nd round to pick 26, and we're going to use it on outside linebacker Caleb Perkins out of TCU with A pursuit, B zone coverage. He seemed to have some pretty solid physical traits: elite acceleration, elite change of direction, great speed, and then over here we can see that he has B awareness, A play rec, A pursuit, A impact blocking. Don't know why the impact blocking matters at all, We're going to go ahead and take him, and Caleb Perkins will have a normal dev trade. In the third round here with pick 7, we're going to take tight end Cliff Beckham out of Notre Dame. I will be completely honest, I don't know a lot about this guy. A to C awareness, B catching, B run block, C deep route, D run block power, which isn't great. He has pretty solid physical traits though, so we're going to go ahead and use this pick on him. And for the first time in the series, we drafted tight end, and it's a hidden dev trait tight end. And now in the third round, we're going to take center Grant Barker, just because we only have one center on the roster, so it's a bit of position of need. But we're going to go ahead and take him. He's 21 years old out of Oklahoma with A awareness, B pass block, and will also be a hidden dev trait. He may be a normal dev trait, but Austin still comes in as a 77 overall corner. We got a 75 overall right end, a 73 overall outside linebacker, a 69 overall tight end, not great, but he did have a hidden dev trait. And then center Grant Barker is a 70 overall. The computer then took over, got a 63 defensive tackle, a 68 free safety, a 67 defensive end, and a 68 corner. The best player in the draft ended up being Robert Turner, a quarterback that the Lions took with the 4th overall pick. Season 4 of this rebuild. Here is what the starting offense will look like. I have made Beckham our starting tight end. He's already up to a 71 overall, currently has a boost to get him to a 72. But the main thing I'm noticing here is that Kane is actually injured and will miss the first week, so hopefully Rashad White can fill in well for the first game. Over on defense, I have made Dane the starter, so it looks like it actually cut the other defensive end that I signed in Grady Jarrett. Don't really know why it felt the need to do that, but whatever, we'll roll with it. We're not going to make any wild trades this season, but we are at the midway point, and we are currently 2-4, even with an 87 overall defense. Well, our quarterback definitely took a step forward this year. 3,200 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Kane ran for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. He had a pretty good year. Receiving, Jalen Waddle, 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. Aaron Dickerson caught 6. Romeo Doubs caught 6. I signed him in the preseason. I think I forgot to cover that. And then our rookie tight end, Cliff Beckham, caught 3 touchdowns. Over on defense, Jerome Baker once again leading the team in tackles. Not much of a shock. Brian Sherry gets 8 sacks to lead the team, and interceptions, it's a tie between Jerome Baker and Javon Holland, who both got 2. Joe Burrow apparently just had the best year of his career by far. 4,800 yards, 50 touchdowns, both of those good enough to lead the league. Josh Allen only threw 1 interception this year apparently, but leading the league in picks will be Jordan Love, who is in Tennessee. Didn't they just win the Super Bowl with Will Levis? Why is Jordan Love now their quarterback? Running the ball, Josh Jacobs got 1,800 yards and 21 touchdowns, both of those good enough to lead the league. Receiving, Justin Jefferson is now in Washington. Jamar Chase got the most receptions. Jefferson got the most yards with 1,600, and touchdowns goes to Stephon Diggs, who caught 21 of them. Now for the defensive side of the ball. Let's see how that goes, and it's just not going to load. There it is. Fred Warner with 144. Sacks goes to Aaron Donald with 20.5, and interceptions goes to Rasul Douglas, who is now back in Philadelphia and getting 7 interceptions this year. We finished this season 8-9. We were the number 16 in offensive points per game and the number 13 in defensive points per game. So I think we were still a really solid team, but apparently this division was stacked because the Bills and the Jets both go 13-4. However, neither of those 13-4 teams end up making the Super Bowl. This year it'll be between Dallas and Jacksonville. And Dak Prescott finally manages to win Dallas another Super Bowl, 31-30 over the Jaguars. The NFL MVP goes to Joe Burrow, Coach of the Year goes to Zach Taylor, Offensive Player of the Year is Stephon Diggs, Defensive Player of the Year is Aaron Donald, Offensive Rookie of the Year is a quarterback for the Lions, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is a defensive end for the Saints. We get the final offseason of this rebuild underway with $101 million in cap space and 14 players that want to negotiate. The first decision we have is right tackle Kevin Plummer, who has very low re-sign interest, but unluckily for him, it's a 5th-year option, which we will be taking. In real life, I'm not a fan of paying running backs a ton of money, but in Madden, they seem to be pretty crucial, so we'll offer Devon Achane here a 4-year contract, and he has re-signed. Everyone else on this list will be hitting free agency. We're going to see if there's any better options to upgrade, or some of them already have their replacements in place. Like defensive back Cam Smith is like the 4th highest rated defensive back, so there's no reason for him to come back. Looking at our roster right now, we need a backup quarterback, but that's not going to be my top priority. We also need a wide receiver 3 here, because I did let Romeo Doubs walk just to see if we have a better option. I do like to see that Beckham is a superstar depth trait. That's actually really cool to see. And then over on defense, we need a defensive tackle and most likely a defensive end. Cole Holcomb is down to a 79 overall. We will see what's available at middle linebacker. And we have a few older players around like Von Bell and Bradley Chubb that we may need to replace. We could always bring back wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who is now in free agency. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to offer him a contract, but it's definitely an option. Here are the contracts that I have officially thrown out. We're going to start with middle linebacker Bobby Okereke, defensive end Leonard Williams, defensive tackle Osa, I don't know how to say your last name, and then we are going to try to bring back Tyreek Hill. Now, he does not have a ton of interest in us, so there's a chance that he doesn't sign with us, but let's see if anyone is going to sign in this stage. So we'll advance to the next part, and we do land Tyreek Hill, so he is coming back to Miami. We have now thrown a contract at KJ Hamler and Grover Stewart. So Grover Stewart will be a backup. Obviously, both of these players will be backup. But KJ Hamler now getting more interest. So we'll up his offer just a little bit. He would only be like our fourth receiver, maybe our third receiver. I just want to see if we can get him just in case something happens to Tyreek. It's another speedy receiver. And Hamler is gone. Has he signed with us? Yes, he has. And we also land Grover Stewart. Before we go into the final draft, I have not traded for any other picks, so we will begin in the third round. I don't know a lot about this guy, but this is one of the weaker positions on the team at left outside linebacker, so we're going to use this third round pick on Barry Nugent out of Washington. B block shedding, B pursuit, elite speed, and he will come in with a hidden dev trait. The one player I ended up drafting is a 71 overall, then the computer took over and got a 65 overall quarterback, a 67 overall running back, a 69 overall receiver, and a 65 overall middle linebacker. The best player in the draft was an 84 overall running back that the Packers took with the 5th pick, but Jeff Atkinson was the number 2 pick, an 81 overall quarterback. We have made one more trade before I start Season 5, and that is sending a first-round pick to Seattle for safety Jamal Adams. Obviously, Season 5 is a Super Bowl or bust season, and I think we have the offense to do it. The offensive line is not exactly the best in the league, but I still feel like they're going to be just fine. Kane is now a 91 overall, Jalen Waddle's a 97, we brought back Tyreek Hill as a 94 overall, we signed KJ Hamler, and then we still have Dickerson down here as an 82 overall. On defense, we added Jamal Adams to shore up the secondary a little bit more, and Nugent will be our starting outside linebacker over Bradley Chubb. So far in every season, I've stopped at the midway point to figure out exactly how good we've done. I'm not going to do that this time. We're going to go right to the end of the season and right to the stats, and then we will see if we end up making the playoffs here in Season 5 or not. Brendan Bundy ended the season with 3,500 yards, only 19 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Running the ball, Kane ran for 792 yards and 4 touchdowns. I believe that is the lowest of his career so far. Receiving, Jalen Waddle got 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dickerson caught 8, Hill caught 4, and Beckham caught 4. Hopefully that was enough of an offensive show to get us into the playoffs, or maybe the defense carried us. Jerome Baker with 115 tackles, sack goes to Brian Cherry with 6, interceptions goes to Austin with 3, and Jamal Adams with 3. Dak Prescott leads the league in passing yards yet again. Most touchdowns goes to Mahomes, and most interceptions is Jason Beard, a quarterback in Cleveland. Most rushing yards goes to Kenneth Walker with 1,800. Most touchdowns, Isaiah Pacheco had 28 touchdowns this season. Receiving, CeeDee Lamb with the most yards at 1,700 and the most receptions with 115. And the most touchdowns goes to Zay Flowers, who caught 21 of them. Now for the defensive side, let's see, it will go to Quay Walker for leading the league in tackles. Sacks goes to Micah Parsons, who got 24, and interceptions is Fred Warner, who got 6. But sadly, this team could not get into the playoffs. We finished the final season of this rebuild 7-10. I feel like we built a really good team. Maybe playbooks play a little bit more than I was thinking, and maybe Miami's playbook just doesn't really work in simulation. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I'm sorry this rebuild was considered a failure.